I'm starting to clean some parts. I'm using this purple power. You can see I need a little bit more. I'll run down to the local parts store and pick up a couple more jugs. Here I got the clutch inspection cover. Now this stuff should strip that right down to bare metal. And obviously I'm going to have to turn it around and get everything in there, but I'll let this soak for a couple days until the paint's off of it, and I'll just maneuver it differently so I could get all the paint off this piece here. But I'm going to get some more, and I'll put some more in here and make this bath a little bit deeper. Alright, well, the inspection cover's been in the purple cleaner for 3 days. I did take a wire brush to it, and any of the remaining paint I got off. So I'm ready to take this out of the bath and take some simple green to it, get it ready for primer. And the fork for the throwout bearing is also clean. I have the clutch inspection cover all cleaned up. It's ready for a coat of primer, and I'll just spray on some Rust-Oleum primer. I also have the clutch fork ready to go. It's ready for paint. I have the parts for the column neutral safety switch ready to paint. And I have the clip here for the clutch return spring. It's also ready to paint. So I'm going to get a few parts painted today, which is always kind of nice. After taking some dirty, grungy parts, get them cleaned up, put a fresh coat of paint on them. I have these parts painted, and all the black parts are painted with semi-flat black. Well, the color coat's been put on the inspection cover, and I use Krylon semi-flat black. So I'll give this a couple hours to sit out in the sun and get the paint to cure a little bit. Well, I'm using simple green to clean the clutch dust out of the inside of the bell housing. And I'm also going to use the simple green to clean the outside of the bell housing. Now, that's not the most aggressive cleaner you're going to come across, but I want something that's safe to use on aluminum. I'm cleaning up the outside of the bell housing, and I'm using simple green and some green Scotch-Brite. And if I have some areas that are especially difficult, I have a little bit of brake cleaner I can spray on there. I don't need to get this perfect. If I wanted it absolutely looking new, I'd probably get a vapor hone, but I don't think I need to do that. It's not really visible, so I'll clean it up the best I can. I think that's as far as I'm going to take it for now. It looks pretty good. I got it cleaned up. Like I mentioned earlier, without vapor honing, it's difficult to really get it like new. So I think this is in pretty good shape, and I'll set this aside until I need it later. I'm going to assemble this bell housing, and then I can set it aside until I'm ready for it. I have a new fork boot, a new throwout bearing, cleaned and painted the clutch fork. I have a little white grease in there, lube it up, and I'm ready to put this together. I've applied a little bit of white grease here, and then on the other side where it makes contact with the throwout bearing. Put a little bit of white grease on the fork, and set the throwout bearing in place. The last thing for the bell housing before I put it away is to put the inspection cover in place. Put some fresh paint on the bolt. Have the inspection cover in place. New throwout bearing. Clutch fork, painted, lubricated. New clutch fork boot. And of course I cleaned the bell housing. So I think I'll set this aside, and when I'm ready for it, it'll be ready to go. Time to start cleaning the cross member, and this thing is nasty. So it might take me a while. I have to clean it by hand. Be nice if I had a big tub I can dunk it in purple cleaner for a few days, but unfortunately that's not the case. So I'll be using these brushes and a scraper to clean it off. Probably going to take me a little while to get this cleaned up, where I can put some paint on it. And this cross member is just an absolute mess. It is slimy. It's going to take quite a bit of effort to get this thing cleaned up. Worked on the cross member for a couple hours, and I got the top side cleaned up. Took a bit of work. I think there was some sort of undercoating sprayed on it, and so I had to get all that off. And it's like a petroleum-based undercoat where, you know, it's kind of like tar. So it was a bit of a challenge to get it off. All right, back at cleaning the cross member. And it is pretty grungy. So I need to get this cleaned up. I have the other side cleaned. I have purple cleaner here. Simple green, I'll use that last. And I have some brake cleaner if I need that for some stubborn areas. Got a wire brush. Small wire brush. Nylon bristle brush. And a scraper. Well, like the top side, just clean it up little by little. Get in there and scrub it, and then I'll come in with a towel and wipe out what I can. Just keep repeating that until I get it clean. Well, if you have a small garage like me, you just have to figure out a way to make things work. So, have the cross member cleaned up and put some POR 15 on it. Have a bucket of water I'm going to put underneath the cross member and make sure it gets enough humidity to cure. But it's just going to have to do. It's been 24 hours since I applied the POR 15 to the cross member. And the finish is absolutely gorgeous, and it's the perfect amount of sheen. Just a nice semi-gloss finish. Unfortunately, I have some fish eyes in a couple spots, so it's going to need a second coat. And from what I have experienced in the past, when you apply a second coat, it goes gloss. So this might end up being glossy, but it's going to have a second coat. I'm going to give the M-21 a scrub today. It's not as bad as it could be. I've cleaned the M-21 using simple green and some brake cleaner. I believe this transmission has been painted. You can kind of see where there's a clear coat coming off. I did take a brass brush to it, trying to clean it up a little bit. But I think I'm going to call it good here. It's pretty clean. I got all the grease and stuff off of it. So I think if someone looks under the car, it's going to look pretty tidy. So what I think I'll do now is I'm going to drain out all of the old gear lube And before I install the transmission, I'll fill it back up. So, draining out all the old gear lube. And before I reinstall the transmission, I'll get a couple quarts of Redline oil MT90 and I'll fill it back up with that. But who knows how long this gear oil's been in that transmission. Probably a long time. I have a new transmission mount for the M-21, and it's a factory style mount. It is a Pioneer. And I compared it to the mount I took off the transmission, and it is virtually identical. So I think that's going to work out just fine. Well, I have the new mount installed. Now I sanded this and this with 1000 grit and then 1500 grit, getting the oxidation off. And I put some WD-40 on here to prevent any future oxidation. Alright, well, I have the transmission up here. I think I'll just leave it there for now. Kind of get it out of the way, and hopefully I won't trip over it. I can't leave it underneath the car because I'm going to start cleaning under there shortly. I've collected some new parts for the car, going with aftermarket UMI control arms. Has some new semi-metallic brake shoes, new brake springs, new McLeod 11-inch diaphragm clutch. Has a Ram 11-inch billet steel flywheel. Got a W27 rear end cover. Have 1/2-inch wheel spacers. 1 3/4-inch wheel studs. Have new chrome trumpets, exhaust trumpets. New fuel tank pickup. New fuel tank. And I think that'll get me started. But all this stuff's going to have to move because it's just about time to get really messy. So I got my Sawzall down here, and I'm going to cut the exhaust system out. And I'm going to get ready, just start cleaning the bottom of the car. So I have some disassembly ahead of me. It's going to get really dirty. I have a handful of parts cleaned up and ready for installation. Of course, there's a lot more stuff to do, a lot more parts to clean. Well, I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you come back and follow along as we do some restoration work on the Rallye 350. Thanks again for watching.